Click the links to join the channel here or over at Subscribestar. So let me touch bases with Little Mermaid once again, because there's a lot of emotional arguments about it online, and I kind of love to see that. Little Mermaid, a fishy, floundering flop. People are not paying to watch diversity. They say they want it, but they're not paying for it. And this is kind of the division between people on social media, where you can like things for free, you can retweet them, and you go, take my money, and I love, love, love this. But it never actually materializes to people paying for Little Mermaids. There's not a whole lot of buzz for the Little Mermaid. There's a lot of anger behind it, and something about Republicans. But yeah, Republicans are keeping you from watching this movie. Yeah, that makes total sense. So the difference is that people are saying they love your stuff and paying for it. Yeah, that difference is is night and day. It's between a successful business and one that has a God. There's people on Twitter goes like, I remember Joe Glass was like asking trying to sell comics, and some idiot gets on there and goes, "I will retweet the hell of this to all my supporters." It's like, are you gonna buy one of the comics? No, but I'll retweet it. Like, oh, great. I guess that's better than nothing. The thing is, I know this firsthand because I'm in a little bit of that position, because people donate on Subscribestar and across various other platforms. The money is the absolute rock solid bottom line. That is the measure of how much interest is in you, is in whatever you're putting out there, is the money that comes in. And it's whatever industry you're into, even if you're in a small little YouTube channel like this, that is a measure of your worth, and it's better to just be honest about that. And Disney's in the tune of billions of dollars, but it doesn't change if the scale is $300 a month versus billions for Disney. That's a measure of how much interest they have in you. And if you're not getting that financial return, then you have to reassess your message to make sure it's communicating to people correctly. That's the bottom line, and it's weird for billion-dollar companies to not quite understand that bottom line. So people don't seem to be paying for diversity for some wacky yeah, that's great, for some wacky reason. So Disney 2015 Star Wars was the beginning of the end for Disney, and I know how weird that sounds. I go, you hear that and you go, those movies probably netted, after everything, net, not gross, over $1 billion in pure profit. Yes, that's true, but it's not the true measure of the movie, because you have to look at like how that helped the brand. In this case, it hurt the brand. How are the toy sales for that? How is a theme park return on investment for those the new Star Wars? Like, it didn't, none of those things did well. It was just the movies that were profitable. So I say it doesn't tell the whole story. What tells the whole story? Solo, the Star Wars story, that bombed. People just wanted to finish. If you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, then that's your generation of Star Wars. Even if you're young, or you probably saw it on VHS, it was still a part of your life. You just wanted to finish it, and you saw that, you're like, okay, 9 movies are done. I'm done with Disney. I'm done with Star Wars. Or no, you said you're done with Star Wars at that time. You might not. You might still be on board with Disney, because you're not still, like, a lot of people don't understand what Disney is and how woke they are. But they're at least done with the Star Wars. That means they're not going to watch the streaming stuff. Well, it's a moot point, because if you're subscribed to Disney Plus, it doesn't matter what you watch. It just, as long as they get that $15 a month. But people checked out after Disney Star Wars, because those 3 movies were not very good. And you saw what happened with Solo. It was the first to have a Disney movie bomb like that, a Star Wars movie bomb. And you go, Star Wars should have been printing money. Yeah, for sure. And the toy sales should have been insane, but they weren't. Because people loved 77 Star Wars. People just wanted to finish the new series. Now they're done with it. Disney's got streaming Star Wars shows that nobody's ever heard of. I think there was like 4 or 5 Disney streaming shows. People have probably heard of The Mandalorian, and that's kind of it, because it's just going to be, it's going to be Disney. It's going to be a Disney version of everything, where it's going to be woke, and it's not going to look like the test for Star Wars should be, if I was pulling the strings and I was talking to these people who are coming up with ideas for making streaming shows and the next movies, I'd be like, does it look like 77 to 83 Star Wars? And they look at me like I have 2 heads. I'd be like, what are you talking about? That's not diverse enough. I go, going forward, all Star Wars is going to look like it fits in 77 to 83 Star Wars. And half the people there would just quit because they'd lose their mind over that. And I go, but. I go, I think that will be more financially successful. And I think I'm right about that. So there was some like Obi-Wan story where they put some pox chick in it. I don't know what her role is, but people hated it and they hated her or something. So they call the customer istophobic. Eventually the customer is going to walk away from Disney. So what happened with this movie is, and Disney in general, is like they're blaming everybody but themselves. We can criticize the movie without seeing the movie because they swapped out the character, who was a blue-eyed, red-haired mermaid, and then they changed the songs to be more politically correct. People understand, it was only 34 years ago, people understand that things are a product of their time, or at least mature people understand that. You would have been better off just making it as close to the original as possible if you had to do a live action. These are cultural Bolsheviks. There's no way in hell that's going to happen. This is the future of not just Disney, but of Hollywood in total. Like I keep saying, I've said this for years. I look around at Hollywood post 2016, the Trump years, and I go, oh, I think Hollywood's over. Like really over. All over. I don't see how they can. I don't see a path forward for them because they don't want a path forward. Anyway, the thing is they can't defend the movie without seeing it, and so far they don't seem to be paying for the movie because the opening has been soft. It's on the low end of their predictions, and it's a very expensive CGI heavy film. And there's also no buzz on it online. It just doesn't have a whole lot of energy behind it because it's like, why did you make the movie? Is there a whole lot of demand to remake something that was really, really well loved in 1989? And it's also an international bomb. So for some reason, the Asian market's not behind it. Oh, it's those white Republicans in China. Literally, they're saying that kind of stuff. And you go, yeah, you know what bombed in China? Oh, well, the Republicans and the MAGA. None of the things you're saying make sense. So it needs to be a huge hit domestically, and there's not a chance of that happening. Because here's the thing, what does it bring to the table? For some reason, the world audience is not watching. They're probably waiting for streaming. And then at that point, they're probably going, we might just go sail the high seas. Because once a good digital copy comes out, the only thing that stops people from piracy is that they want to support the company. And for a lot of stuff that's coming out now, in fact, the future of Hollywood in general, you don't want to support any of these people. You might be curious about the movie, but there's no need to financially pay for it when you can just get a VPN and go check it out. And the thing is, honestly, I look at everything coming out now, I realize, oh, there's nothing I want to see. It's not just a question of paying for it. It's not just like I don't want to support the companies, and it's not a boycott, because a boycott kind of means something I want and I'm withholding from paying for it. Like Target, boycotting Target's like, it's a pretty convenient store. It's kind of a bummer to not be able to shop there anymore. But Disney and Hollywood in general look like, oh, there's nothing I want. It's not a boycott. I'm not touching grass and yikes my guy, and I'm so pressed and angry. I'm not angry about Hollywood. I see the stuff that's coming out, and I used to love the superhero genre, and there's nothing that's come out in the past 5 years that I look at and go, oh, yeah, that's not worth money. It's not even worth seeing for free. Because you always have that option. You can see all this stuff for free. It's not even worth the time. I mean, you watch a few minutes of it to do enough to talk about it. But it's like, if the first 15 minutes is just ass, it's not going to improve from there. I'm trying to think of the last movie I watched the whole way through and tried to pay attention to. And there's a few, and they're just like, they're all garbage. And how many garbage effing movies? Wonder Woman 84. God, what a 2.5 hour slog that was. But also Suicide Squad Part 2 came out. And Black Widow. I saw those all the way through. I saw like the superhero movies I see all the way through. Online, if you know what I'm saying. And they're not worth watching. So if I watch 10 movies in a genre that's all bad, I'm not going to bother watching the 11th movie because I know it's going to suck. Anyway, so kids online are also kind of confused about domestic gross versus net take and marketing costs, and how much the theaters take, because the theaters have to function, and how much they pay back to the company. And there's like budget plus marketing and extras for this movie is like $350 to $400 million. Things add up pretty quickly. So domestic profits are breaking even from something like $600 to $700 million. Someone even came up with $750 million, depending on how much was in marketing. Thing is, I personally saw a lot of marketing for it, so I'm going to kind of assume it's high. And unless something changes, it's going to lose money, which is not a good look for Disney, because Disney is now starting to tarnish its brand because you're associating Disney with over a dozen movies that are bombs or underperformers. And the original was in 89, and it kind of, they said it was a revitalization for Disney at the time. And for 89, Little Mermaid, and then for the next decade, Disney was a huge hit. It was a household name. That was probably the peak for Disney in terms of market outreach and goodwill and the name of Disney. Like, Disney was a family-friendly company at the time, and people are slowly realizing that that's not the case anymore. So what does a live action do? Well, they erase the original beautiful red-haired girl for a purse puppy, Mary Sue, and then they change the songs so they're not wrong things. So it's like you nerf the whole movie. So what does it bring to the table? Why exactly would people go to the theater, pay the $15 for them, their spouse, and their kids? It's like, what is in it for them? What's going to get people to pay that money with it? They could just go download the original 89 version, or they might even have a VHS copy or a DVD copy, or more likely, it's like you just have the stuff on your hard drive. It's a race swap remake, but what exactly is the draw? And I couldn't think of one, which is probably why the movie's going to bomb. And the shill media is coming out, and they're trying to puff this movie up so much. It's so obvious. And they're going, oh, well, it got review bombed. See, you kind of say that about every movie with a Mary Sue purse puppy that people are not on board with. It got review bombs. Like, so is that preventing people from seeing the movie if it got review bombed? Because the critics scores are high. You go, oh, the verified critic scores or something like we're like 70%, and then you check all critic scores, and it's like 48%. So something is wrong with the movie. It's like, oh, the audience got 95% verified user scores, and then you check all scores, and it's like 45%. Okay, so come on, what's going on here? The thing is, there was no organized plot to review bomb this. There's no proof of that. People know now if they see a Pox female, she's going to be a Mary Sue purse puppy, because the past 20 movies that have had Pox females, they've been purse puppies. They have no challenges that they can't overcome. They can do it all. They don't even need any ancillary characters. People know what they're getting into, especially with Disney. Disney's woke. They're anti-family. They're anti-white. They're anti-Christian. People are slowly waking up to this. Sometimes bad reviews are just because the movie sucks. And you look at the professional reviewers who are way biased to be left-wing people, and you're like, so they gave it a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. The actual reviewing people who do it professionally, they gave it low scores. So are they what are they, the Chad Poop Lord Hugo Bosses? Are they the trolls too? Because they gave it low score, and they don't have an answer to you. They just want something about Republicans and MAGA didn't want to see this movie. So the original movie was made in 1989. It had a blue-eyed, red-haired character, some kind of vaguely Irish type. The remake didn't honor the story, and it didn't bring anything new to the table, so it bombed. I'm trying to think, like Aladdin had Will Smith, who at the time was a big star. What does this movie have? Like, if you made this movie in the early 90s when Orlando Bloom was a huge hit, and you had some hot red-haired, blue-eyed girl, European girl, Scottish or Irish or something like that, girl play the role, then that live action would be a huge hit. But people don't want to see this. Like, the image of the male actor and the female actor, neither group wants to see this, and Disney's putting it in anyway because they really want they want this to be the norm. But the people of the light on the left and the Pox on the right, either side would prefer, if it's set in the Caribbean, then just have all Pox people. Set it all Pox, like was it The Wiz, where it's all one group of people. At least that way it makes sense. It's like, it still wouldn't be a huge hit, but it actually would have been a bigger hit because it would have had more the appearance of truth. Or make it like the original, where it's all, wherever the setting was originally, English people, French people, whatever. So the movie bombed, and no, I don't see it turning around in its second week. People are also tired of being called istophobic if they don't like this anti-white globalist propaganda coming from these corporate parasites like Disney. So review sites run cover to adjust the scores upwards, and they admit it. They go, oh, low scores, we're just going to throw those out. Well, then the review site is garbage. Like if you openly admit you're throwing out low scores, then what's the point of going to review site? Somebody's going to have to just open up a new review site. And the thing is, the Rotten Tomatoes, the IMDb are well cognizant of this. They know that people are going to stop going to them, so they're in kind of a tricky position there. So Disney now has got a string of bombs and underperforming films, and Disney is starting to be associated with boring propaganda. Like, you can just call it woke. For some reason, the left hates that word, and they immediately will do like a personal attack straw man if you say woke. But you know what we're talking about. Like, they're pushing some kind of globalist agenda that people are just not on board with, and it's becoming this toxic left-wing anti-family company. There's the Disney theme park. There's a male in a dress at Disney who is, I don't know, playing one of the roles, one of the Disney characters, and people post the video online, and people are starting to see it's like at some point they go. People just kind of have to admit, like, yeah, these are not our values, and ad hominem, straw man aside. So what you're saying is, yeah, whatever. But the atomic core family, those are our values of a mother and father and your family tribe and people like you, people who have the same values and beliefs and all that. Like, those are our values. And you're saying, oh, well, the BLT people are people also. Yeah, for sure. And they can form families, but those are not our values. Those are your values. And we're not gonna support that because we don't value that. And like all the straw man, all the ad hominems aside, you just have to say, yes, we don't value the things you value. You have these fleeting, ephemeral cloud formation values of bullshit found family. And like, it's going to result in tragedy. It might take a decade to, why do these globalist corporate billion-dollar parasites want people rootless and cut off from tradition and structure? Why do they want people just broken and alone, desperate, depressed and despondent? Why do they want the Bolshevik found family? Why do they not want people to have roots? Because you can resist as groups. Groups can resist groups, but individuals get crushed. That's why it's very critical to be as tribal as possible. This movie's going to lose. I don't know what the fudge scene this was. This movie's going to lose. I'll predict $50 million. So the thing is, Disney are globalists. And even in this movie, you've got race and species mixing. But then they cuck the man at the end because he doesn't steer the boat to defeat Ursula the Sea Witch, the Mary Sue does. So the man is totally unnecessary. So why'd you even have him in the movie in the first place? It's like, what was that Witches remake movie where it was the original story was, I think, set in England or something, and where like that guy who wrote that story, they're rewriting all his stories to be more politically correct. But I think it was Anne Hathaway was in the Witches remake, and so instead, of course, they swapped out the little English boy for a pox boy, and he had two sidekick characters who I think were English or American, but they didn't do anything. The little pox boy did everything in the movie. You can go find that movie online, the Witches remake, I think with Anne Hathaway. Go watch it. Every adventure, every puzzle that they have to overcome, it's like it's a group of three. You think it's an ensemble. It's like it's teamwork. No. The little boy, the little black boy, overcomes every puzzle. The two characters, the sidekick ancillary characters, they serve no purpose other than moral support, other than they're there to just cheer on this amazing pox boy. Where you read the original books, it's like, oh, it was a teamwork. Yeah, there's like educating oneself on what the globalists are doing, I think is very important, which is why I make Odyssey and BitChute videos. And thanks for your support on Subscribestar. Anyway, another thing they keep saying in the movie is, oh, the race doesn't matter. It's only skin. The skin, why does the skin matter? And they go like, well, why did they change it? And they go, oh, well, representation. So it matters now? And don't the European people also need representation? Because it's, Hans Christian Andersen's story. And the thing is, if you want that representation, like most people like are just parroting. They don't believe anything they're saying. I go, so I want you to write your own story. Write something fresh and organic. Because The Little Mermaid was already done in 89. Yeah, it's the original story 100 years ago, but the 89 version is really well known. It was done pretty well. It's the alpha and omega. It's been told, it's been done. To remake it, you're transformative and not curative, and people are not into transformative propaganda because it always works out to be propaganda. And oh, there's also a song in this, the Aquafina Little Mermaid song. You can stop this video and just go watch that on YouTube. Aquafina Little Mermaid. It's kind of rough. I mean, I think it will probably make you feel physically ill. Anyway, this movie doesn't bring anything to the table, and I hope it loses money, and I hope Disney loses money, and I'm going to point back to it and go, yeah, 2015 Star Wars, I think that was the beginning of the end for Disney. We saw Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp that came out like 2009-ish or something, and people looked at Disney and Star Wars and thought, oh, Disney is going to nail Star Wars, and Lucas, like, you know, he got kind of soft, he got kind of Ewok-y Return of the Jedi. Disney's going to just knock this thing the F out of the park, and they didn't. It's all so black lesbians riding horses in space is the direction. You're not a Hugo Boss, are you? If Hugo Boss means I like the original Star Wars, then sign me up. How dare you say that? I mean, like, they can only call you istophobic so many times before people just kind of go, oh, okay, we accept that. I mean, that's like another video in that. It's like, honestly, there's a lot of great conversations to be had on YouTube, but they're not politically correct, and they use hot words. So even you can't have any of those conversations on YouTube. It's a real shame. But I mean, the white pill is the whitest of white pills. Is that Odyssey and BitChute and these other platforms are finally taking off, and Rumble too. Rumble's doing the Lord's work. Like I listen to Rumble and Odyssey more than I do YouTube now. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Very sincere thanks to everyone over at Subscribestar, especially Vegan and Renunciate. And I will see you guys all next episode.